Hey everyone, my name's Justin, and today on Countercultured, we're reviewing the highly anticipated album Pawns and Kings by Alter Bridge. This band has continually tried to raise the bar with every new release, so let's see if this record can top everything else they've put out thus far. Before we get into the full review, I want to talk about the hype and lead up for this album. I honestly can't remember being more excited for a new record in my entire life. My Facebook, Discord, and Reddit have been flooded with Alter Bridge content for months, and while it's been fun, that does come with some risks. Time and time again, a new album or movie or book or video game will garner overwhelming amounts of hype, only to let down countless fans because it didn't quite live up to their expectations. Take for example, Game of Thrones. That used to be one of the biggest TV shows of the modern day, but then they cracked under the pressure and delivered a subpar ending that's left fans viscerally upset with the franchise. With that in mind, I was a little worried that Pawns and Kings was becoming too overhyped and would ultimately lead to disappointment. But I can comfortably say that this record is one of the best modern rock albums ever produced, and a strong contender for Alter Bridge's best album. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's start with the songs that hopefully everyone has heard by now, the singles. If you remember, I was openly critical about how quickly Silvertongue was released following the title track Pawns and Kings. I was worried that too many singles would lessen the impact of the final release, but I'd say the experience has still been very fresh and satisfying, even with 2/5 of the album already released. Pawns and Kings and Silvertongue are among my favorite Alter Bridge tracks currently, and I've since come to terms with the latter song not having a guitar solo. I still maintain that it would work to have one, but I'm content with the song as is now. Initially, I didn't love Miles's vocal melody during the chorus, but it's definitely grown on me. And of course, the title track has also gotten better since I first heard it, and I can see myself listening to that song on repeat for months, as I already have. But what about the two most recent singles that I haven't talked about yet? Quite frankly, Sin After Sin might be one of my least favorite Alter Bridge songs. The slow riff is alright, but it gets old quickly, and I find the rest of the song to be quite forgettable. Also, if I wasn't already bummed out enough about not getting a solo with Silvertongue, this song just made that worse. The ending technically has a solo, but it's probably one of the most boring parts I've ever heard from this band if you consider it to be a solo. It's painfully simple with little to no development whatsoever. Of course, simple can sometimes be effective, like with Miles's riff in Blackbird, but this solo is nothing like that. I would have much rather heard a sweeping guitar solo, or at least something with more melody and development. Sin After Sin is just too repetitive and it drags on too long, and I don't think I'll listen to it much going forward. Moving on to the final single, This Is War, I chose to avoid listening to this track before the listening party, and I was almost successful in that venture until the song was played at a bar literally the night before the party. This song is pretty cool, and its riffs share a lot of similarities with Clear Horizon from the previous album. Additionally, the guitar breakdown is signature Tremonti, and I love Scott's double bass work throughout this track. There were only a few double kick parts on Walk the Sky, so I'm glad that he's brought it back as a primary component in his writing. Something else that stands out about this song is the choir-like vocal stings during the main riff. If you were hoping for more experimentation from Alter Bridge, this is a prime example of just that. We've never heard Miles write a part like this before, and while I'm glad it is minimal on this album, it's such a clever addition to the song that really makes it pop as an album opener. This Is War is a strong opening track that hits the ground running, and the album continues that pace with the first new song, Dead Among the Living. This track is a perfect fit for song 2. This spot is always tricky to get right since the song needs to keep up the pace set by the album's opener, establish some level of a narrative, and deliver a new idea to differentiate it from its predecessor. On many albums, track 2 ends up being a single as it provides the listener with some familiarity early on and keeps them hooked. Going against the mold, Alter Bridge chose to release every surrounding song instead, and much to my relief, this decision was still successful. Dead Among the Living is fresh and exciting and carries many of Alter Bridge's signature elements. I've basically given up trying to guess who wrote each part, so either Miles or Mark delivers a great guitar riff, and the quiet intro that leads into Silvertongue is a nice touch. My only gripe with the song is that I wish they'd repeated the final chorus once before ending the song. I think a brief loop would have really hammered home the point even further, and would have made that post-chorus riff that much more impactful. Of course, this one is just a personal preference, and it doesn't affect my overall opinion of the track by much. Jumping ahead now to track 5, Stay is the first big departure from Alter Bridge's norm. This is the band's first time featuring Mark Tremonti as a lead vocalist for an entire song. But the differences don't stop there. The song is essentially a fusion of Alter Bridge and Tremonti, and more specifically the songs Godspeed and Sympathy. The combination results in a sudden shift in the tone of the album. Despite the song carrying a different vibe than the first 4 tracks, I still enjoyed it, though definitely not as much as Dead Among the Living or Silver Tongue. I don't think I'll be coming back to this song quite as often as some of the other ones on this record. Continuing the trend of straying from typical Alter Bridge is track 6, Holiday. Alter Bridge rarely writes upbeat, triplet-based songs, so this one immediately jumped out at me. On top of that, Miles's lyrics on this track are different from previous records. In the early days of Alter Bridge, he wrote a lot of songs from the singular first-person point of view, but has since shifted to plural first-person, second-person, or third-person. Nowadays, he tends to make the subject of his Alter Bridge songs someone else, and not himself. This song, however, reverts to a more personal lyrical approach, like with early Alter Bridge, Slash, or even his solo work. As many have noted, the reason for this is because the song was originally intended for Miles's scrapped solo album, so it makes perfect sense that the lyrics are a little different than on other songs. Frankly, I really like the track, but it does feel a little odd on this album, especially when you consider what follows it. I can see this one being a little divisive for some people, but that is certainly not the case for this next song. Fable of the Silent Sun is Alter Bridge's longest song ever written, so of course the tendency is to compare it to other epics like Blackbird or Fortress. When I heard it at the listening party, I thought it more closely resembled the Ides of March from Miles Kennedy's solo album of the same name. However, since listening to the track with proper headphones, I'd say that comparison only works for about the first third of the song. The rest is this beautiful, epic concoction of so many different parts. I can hear elements of Fortress, The Great Beyond from Year of the Tiger, 30 Years to Life from World on Fire, and several other songs. This track is like an amalgamation of everything great about Alter Bridge, and probably one of the band's biggest show-off tracks. I absolutely love this song, and I think it's only going to improve with age. At this point, we've entered the endgame with only 2 new songs left and 3 in total. The next song has the incredibly difficult task of following one of Alter Bridge's most epic tracks. To accomplish this, the song needs to both differentiate itself and keep up the energy of the record. It's natural for a track taking this spot to be a little disappointing, like a filler song meant to cleanse your palate before another big statement. However, that is not the case with Season of Promise. This may be one of my favorite tracks from the entire album. I just adore Miles's chorus melody, and the addition of Mark's harmony vocals during the verses is like everything I've been wanting from Alter Bridge since Fortress. More often than not, I prefer having a separate vocalist providing harmonies since it usually creates more color and variety in the sound. Miles is great at creating rich choral harmonies, but his voice is so bright and intense that sometimes it can be a little grating. Using Mark to fill out the bottom of a harmony removes some of that intensity from the top and balances the sound, making every part sound just that much better. I hope following this record, he keeps providing harmonies for Alter Bridge, since his contributions only make the band stronger. And with that, we come to the final new track, aptly named Last Man Standing. I'll be honest, I have mixed feelings about this one. Out of all the songs I heard at the listening party, including Sin After Sin, I was the least invested in this one, but that's largely due to the numerous 7/8 sections. It's not easy to jam along with a brand new song when it's in mixed meter, so that threw me off a little bit. I was thinking it would just take some time to get used to it, but even after listening a few times, it's just not clicking for me. 7/8 is one of the most common weird time signatures, so after a while, the parts kind of start to sound the same. This iteration of it is all right, but it does feel a little recycled, especially after getting a similar 7/8 section only 2 songs prior. One other critique I had was that Miles's voice lacks the grit and determination of other songs in the chorus. He sounds like he's holding back a little, like maybe he was tired or sick during recording. I strongly doubt this one will ever be played at a show, but maybe it'll finally click with me if I can feel the energy coming from the band when they perform it live. Last Man Standing is among my least favorite songs from this record, but if that's the worst that this album ever gets, then it's still an impeccable display of musicianship all around. Before I provide my final thoughts, let me know your favorite songs from this album down in the comments. And while you're at it, hit the like button as well. It helps spread this video and also this album to more people, and I personally appreciate it a lot. So thanks. Once again, Alter Bridge has delivered a fantastic, unique record unlike anything they've previously made. Pawns and Kings checks all of the boxes for a good rock album, and despite being the band's shortest record to date, it's satisfying and densely packed with musical brilliance. For those who prefer Alter Bridge's heavier side, there's loud, bombastic riffs, technically amazing guitar solos, gritty vocals, aggressive drums, and some truly epic moments scattered throughout. For those leaning more towards the lighter side of Alter Bridge, there are sweeping vocals, shimmering harmonies, and a near constant supply of expertly composed melodies. I think that this record is by far the most experimental album ever written by Alter Bridge. Each song is radically different from the one preceding it, and many incorporate never before heard rhythmic and melodic ideas as key components of the song. Of course, experimentation can be a double-edged sword. Some of the songs differ greatly from the rest of Alter Bridge's catalog, and it creates some minor issues with consistency. However, depending on your preferences, you may welcome the change of pace in songs like Holiday and Last Man Standing. Either way, it's no doubt that the creative juices were flowing at max speed for the band, because every member delivers a stellar performance. I've already seen many people insist that this is Brian Marshall's best work on bass, and I'm tempted to agree. Others are saying this album features Scott's best drumming, and while I will disagree on that point, I do think his drumming is fantastic and much improved since Walk the Sky. And of course, behind the scenes, Elvis Baskett delivers a crystal clear mix that captures the band's power without sacrificing clarity or musical fidelity. The pieces of each song are easily distinguishable despite multiple layers of harmonies, melodies, counter melodies, and interjections. There's so much to unpack with each song, so it's going to be a lot of fun digging in and analyzing these songs over the next few weeks. Pawns and Kings is shaping up to be one of my favorite Alter Bridge records of all time. While it's not quite as perfect as Fortress or AB3, it's for sure in my top 3. I'm sure you're probably wondering if and how I'm going to score Pawns and Kings. Well, since it's only just come out and I'm still riding the adrenaline high from all that lead-up hype, I just want to say that my opinions are all but guaranteed to shift within the next few months. So at the end of the day, the number I'm about to say is just my opinion at this moment in time, and you're welcome to agree or disagree to your heart's content in the comments. Let's just remember to keep it civil. Now, with all that said, for a final score, I'm giving Pawns and Kings by Alter Bridge a 9.4 out of 10. We'll wrap things up there for today, but don't worry, the Pawns and Kings content is just getting started. Next week, I'm ranking every song in the record from least favorite to favorite. But until then, be sure to subscribe and watch this playlist where I reviewed every single album in the entire Alter Bridge universe. There's over 2 hours of videos on Alter Bridge, Tremonti, Slash, Creed, Projected, and so much more. So make sure to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.